strategy, then right now. Visit us at weshouldcollaborate.com and let us know how we can help. Don't simply survive when your business can thrive.
There's an advantage in being the home team. You know who Emma Talley, Jake Lewis, and Pat Gates are. You've seen the wall around Butler Stadium and have heard of the Caldwell Crazies. Trice Hughes, we're your home team. Here's our home team deal of the week.
2019 Chevy Blazer. You take your pick, silver or gray. All-wheel drive Premier. Only $11,184.
Get this home team deal of the week at Trice Hughes. Find us on Highway 91 North, Princeton, or tricehughes.com.
Local businesses have supported us in every regard. Now it's our turn to support them. Here's a way you can help.
The road crews clearing, the law enforcement protecting, the health officials informing. Our local heroes are paid by you when you shop local businesses. Now more than ever, it's important that we shop local merchants who provide such important sales tax revenue. As we flatten the curve and rebuild, we need you to support local life. Keep our local economy strong with our local businesses. Here today, here tomorrow, we're in this together. This is Beth Mann, President and CEO of the Edge Media Group, asking you to support local.
The Edge Media Group encourages you to support local. Be sure to post what you're doing to show your support. Hashtag support local.
How do we make America safe? I'm Amy McGrath, and I spent 20 years in the Marines and flew combat missions against terrorists. That's one way to keep us safe. I also believe we need the rule of law here at home. Everyone has the right to protest, and freedom of speech was one of the things I was fighting to protect. But looting and vandalism is a crime and should be fully prosecuted. And violence against police officers can never be tolerated. Mitch McConnell is trying to scare you and tell you I'm something I'm not. But this is what Mitch McConnell always does. He makes things up and divides people. We are in the middle of a very difficult time in our country, and Mitch McConnell's politics don't solve any problems. Whether it's helping us get through COVID, protecting our families, fighting for Kentucky jobs, or ensuring opportunity for every Kentuckian, I'm running for Senate, and I approve this message because as a Marine and a mom, I will always put Kentucky first.
Paid for by Amy McGrath for Senate.
1580 103.3 WPKY. Love it when we've got a special guest this morning, and it's all about deer season. Of course, it's one of our favorite times of the year, and fall is in the air. And I think that's when we really start thinking about deer season. And I think a guy from Ramshackle would probably know something about that. Keith Seyers, how are you?
I'm doing quite well this morning. How are you?
Well, I'm doing good. Have you had the deer fever yet?
Oh, yeah. I've had the shakes once or twice so far, trying to close the deal.
Well, I tell you, with where you're located, I think you're really in the heart of course, all of us are in Western Kentucky, I guess, in what they would call, just perfection deer, this country, where we have huge deer and they're beautiful. But what I'm hearing is a lot of them have still got velvet on them. What are you seeing?
Here the past few weeks, I've still seen one or two clinging on, but it seems like I pulled cards yesterday on some of our farm and then a couple of our leases, and everything I'm picking up in the past 5 days seems like it's lost its velvet.
Well, I'll tell you, I would think that you're pretty well as well equipped to talk about things like this. Just about anybody that I know. Of course, if those of you who don't know, we love him to death, and we rooted him on Alone, season 7 on the History Channel. And now I think I'm even more proud of you. I don't think I could have been at the time. And then now I'm more impressed with what you're doing here at home. I think with your Ramshackle Homestead and all of the survival and all of the things that you're doing and making over there, I think it's more impressive what you're doing now that you're back.
It's definitely put me in the spotlight. It's nothing that we haven't always done, but it sure has helped us get the word out. I will say that.
Well, and when we were talking about bow season, and I was thinking about it yesterday, and I thought, you know what? I don't think anybody's more equipped to talk about deer season and bow season than the guy that makes the bows.
Yeah, I suppose there's some truth to that. I go about things probably a little differently than what the average person does. I'm actually still in the woods, kind of walking out right now. But yeah, we make, I guess, what would be considered an eastern woodland hickory flat bow. I deal most of the white wood, hickory, hackberries. But I took a deer, I guess, 2 years ago with a stone point. So that's kind of the benchmark I've set for myself. This year, I'm going to have to take at least one deer with a stone point before I switch over to hunting with my recurve. So that I guess that's the goal now, is a self bow and another stone point kill.
Well, I got to ask, though, when we're out and scoping it out, you talked about pulling cards, and I know a lot of us do. Of course, I follow, several different, I guess, groups and that sort of thing for deer hunting in Western Kentucky. Of course, you can find those around pretty easy on social media. But, when you talk about cards, is that what everybody's pretty well doing now, is putting out the game cameras and just kind of keeping an eye on them year-round?
Oh, I think so. And I personally, I get as much enjoyment out of seeing the photos, really, as I do taking an animal or even seeing an animal, because where I live down here, there's a lot of what's called the WRP, the Wetland Restoration Program, and it's literally like a jungle. So the cards on the cameras are a lot of times the only way you're going to get to see, anything that may be passing through. And it may be you get one picture of this huge deer and he disappears off the face of the earth. You never see him again. So yeah, I really enjoy setting out cameras.
Are we seeing, is it just me, or are we seeing bigger, like badder deer now than what we did, say, 10 years ago? And if so, do you think it's because people are only taking the big trophies and they're letting the smaller ones grow?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely more of a mindset towards quality deer. And I know, Lord, 35 years ago, when I first started hunting, what was a big deer then and what is a big deer now is definitely worlds apart. And I think that mindset has finally caught on, with the general public. As much as I hate the Outdoor Channel and those type programs, I definitely think that it has helped out as far as your quality deer that you have nowadays.
What do you think about the feeding and things like that? Where are you on feed, fattening them up?
Yeah, I'm not opposed, especially during the wintertime. I leave feed out more so in the spring, really, when the does need it. I will. I'm not going to say I won't hunt over bait. I definitely will and do, but it's not my only method and not my go-to.
Right.
I usually prefer just to catch a travel way, but personally, I don't see anything wrong with it, especially if you're setting it up for a young person, or a kid. And the minerals that they have nowadays, I leave mineral out year-round, and again, they're in the spring when they're coming out of winter. I really try to pour it to them just to help them out more than anything, not necessarily that I'm trying to hold them or keep them on my property or one of my leases, but just the fact that that's when they need it the most.
Well, and really and truly, when you think about it, if you're talking about going and harvesting this for your family to eat for meat, I mean, a lot of us do that now. Venison has just become, I think, even more popular in the last few years as far as recipes. I'm seeing a lot more people making it and, talking about different recipes. And, there's something to be said for knowing what they're eating and making sure they're eating good and eating healthy.
Oh, absolutely. And, we plant a lot of food plots and we manage the browse in a couple of different ways with smaller trees. And, it's 80% of our probably protein diet here is venison. And so, yeah, it's that aspect of it definitely holds true for us.
Now, as far as when you go out, I know when I was looking, I wanted to make sure before I talked to you about the different dates and that sort of thing. So I looked it up, but it looks like crossbow. It's kicked in too. So are you really a traditional handmade bow guy, or are you ready to move over into something a little more powerful as the season goes on?
About as powerful as I'm going to get will probably be a flintlock rifle that I built. To be honest with you, I am working on a little something, and I'll probably do a video on it here later on our YouTube channel. But I've had an idea in my head for a few years now to build a medieval style French crossbow. So I actually have the stock and the prod, everything mated up. My wheels were turning as I was sitting in the stand this morning, and I think probably today I'm going to start working on the roller mechanism. But that may. It may be a thing this season. I don't know, but
I'm so glad I asked that out of the blue. I don't know what even made me ask it, but I'm so glad I did.
It's going to be. We'll see how good my tinkering is over the next few weeks. If I can break free and get enough time on my own, where I'm not working on projects for other people. But hopefully that will be a thing this year. I think that would be pretty cool, and that's something you don't hear too many people doing again.
Well, and I got to admit, when you talk about gear, I mean, that's a whole nother aspect right there and billion-dollar business just in gear, for deer season, where it's become its own monster, really, when you go out and purchase all the gear. But I love that when, you're custom making things like this for people, and it's anything. I've seen you do some really sweet knives, and then you go into the bows, and these bows are just ridiculous.
I appreciate that. And, I think, again, we're a consumer-based society, and I definitely see it with a lot of my compound hunting friends that I talk to. They're chasing feet per second and, the most let off and all that jazz. But yeah, by the time you spend, I guess, $1,200 is probably what a bow costs now. I really have no idea. In 2 years it's obsolete and worth a third of what you paid for it, where I think if you stick with the traditional stuff, you got kind of an heirloom piece that you can hand down, and it's pretty well always going to be the same.
Well, and you even go into your own knife making, like into the cane cutters. And, what do you prefer? What kind of knife, do you skin with? Is that something that you make yourself? Or is there a particular type of knife you like to skin with?
The skinning knife that I'm carrying actually on my side right now is kind of a blend of two styles that came about. I want to say, and I may mess this completely up, but the Nesmic and the Kephart, I think, were back around the turn of the century. And I've always kind of liked them, so I kind of built a hybrid off of those. I guess I did that about 2 years ago, and a lot of my friends that still trap, I gave them a few to try out because it's 100% a skinning knife, and they loved them. So I made a pattern that I could replicate pretty easy. And yeah, that is one of the knives that we sell over our website. I think I call it the beaver zipper because it just fits your hand so well. It's like when you go to skin, it's pretty much like the animal has a zipper on it.
Well, and the other thing I wanted to ask you, too, I know that, speaking of skinning, I know a couple of people that said, you know what, I went hunting and I let one walk because it was just so warm that it's just not time for me to do it yet. I want it to be able to chill out overnight. And that's something that a lot of people, including myself, it just doesn't seem like deer season to me until it's cold, and then you hang it and let it chill out. What is the secret to being able to, really keep this meat when it's warm?
Ice. Ice
really?
is definitely the secret in a big cooler.
Do you take that out with you?
No, but and this time of year, honestly, what I'm looking for is something about 60 or 70 pounds. What my buddies call a snack pack, I guess. I'm just looking for something we can eat in a few days and just, have some fresh meat. I'm not going to say if something bigger walk by, I wouldn't take it, but I definitely this time of year looking for something extremely manageable as far as the butchering process and getting everything cooled down.
Well, and when you say walk by, are you up in the tree or are you eye level? Where do you hunt from?
It depends on the situation, really. I mean, we've got, how many acres do we have? We probably got about 300 acres, and we have stands set up through it. But a lot of times, especially hunting with a stick bow, I'll hunt off the ground if I can find, that sweet spot where I'm well hid and can also get away with the amount of movement that I have to get away with, because definitely my average range is about 15 yards. So, and I cannot draw that bow back, of course. You can draw a 50-pound bow with no let off back and hold it for 45 seconds while something comes up. So it's got to be pretty fluid. So I have to be pretty hid, whether I'm in a stand or on the ground.
Well, I'm also hearing that from a lot of folks that are out there in the woods right now that it seems like a lot of the bucks have turned nocturnal right about now. Is that something you're seeing a trend, and those bucks are really moving very nocturnally at night now?
Oh, absolutely. Every picture I have from the past week has been between 1 a.m. and probably 5 a.m. at the latest. I was picking some up, back early during daylight hours. But, yeah, that has just about come to a screeching halt, or at least here in my area.
Well, and that's what I'm hearing here, too. I mean, what is the reason for that? Do you know?
I really have no idea.
It's just like they all got together all at once and said, "Hey, Bob, it's time. Hey, no, we don't go out now. We got to wait." It's like they all turned a clock or something.
Yeah, and I don't think it has anything to do with increased hunting pressure or anything like that. I'm sure it has to do with daylight, as far as length of hours, and they can feel the equinox that was just the other day. I think all that factors in. I think moon phases are a huge part of what drives, their behavior patterns.
Well, what are you thinking, in the morning or in the evening? Since we've got, our biggins are traveling at night, we got to get there as close to night as we can, I guess. And are you the one that's the early riser, or are you staying until, the sun goes down?
I honestly have not hunted at all in the afternoons this year. And when it's warm like this, I usually don't. I like to be in a stand by about 5:30 or be where I'm going to be and let everything cool down a little bit from my presence, and then try to stay to about 8 or 9. And I'm not too serious about it this time of year, other than right now I'm really trying to get that flint kill on film.
Well, what about squirrel? Of course, squirrel's in season now too. Are you picking up any of those?
Yeah, I could have picked up probably a semi-truckload of them this morning, and that always seems to me to be a bad sign. When I'm seeing that many squirrels, I probably just go home and have that third cup of coffee.
Well, I got to admit, man, on a load, they were really popping a lot of them with bows, and I was shocked by that. Some of them were pretty good with a bow.
Yeah, you get dialed. I mean, I think last year when I was on the show, I was at probably the best and most heightened sense of awareness as far as instinctively shooting that I'd ever been in my life. But hunger will make you do that, I guess.
I started to say you're probably more hungry, and that just kind of tunes you in, right?
Yeah, and it took me on the show about 6 days to get out of my own head, because I mean, I shoot instinctively all the time. I shoot stick bows all the time. They're where I build bows, and right outside my shop, I've got a couple bags hanging up, and I'll shoot 2 or 3 arrows a day. But the pressure you're putting on yourself when you're out there, it definitely got to me. I had to actually set up a little target that I made in the field and show myself that, you know what to do, you know how to do this, and get back in a rhythm, and before I could really take one of the squirrels with a bow.
Yeah, I started to say, I'm going to tell you, there's no way. There's no way. There are the branches in the trees, and I mean, there would be a bird that flew by at the wrong time. I mean, there's no way I could probably. I guess if I did it long enough, when you're hungry enough, maybe that's what it is.
Oh yeah.
But you shoot carp out with your bow out of a canoe, don't you, or out of a kayak?
Yeah, the first time I've done it out of a canoe quite a bit, and I just had this idea. My wife and I were paddling the other day, and the Asian carp, on the Ohio River, are insane. But they were just had no fear of that kayak. So I told her, I said, we're going to get some cameras and come back and see what we can do. And really, it was a lot easier than any John boat or anything I've ever shot them out of, because they just pay that canoe or kayak. They don't even look at it. They treat it like a log.
Your wife has got to be the most amazing woman, I swear.
She's pretty special, that's for sure.
Well, and she even put up with, now I've got to ask though, and I know it was all about deer season today, and I really wanted to talk about deer, and I am so glad that we got to, but I am not letting you off the phone till you tell me what's up with this dugout canoe.
Well, that was a friend of mine. He lives up in northern Indiana, and it's kind of been his, but we're into the 18th century thing. We do flintlocks and the whole 9 yards, but he had this idea, I guess, since he was about 14. He wanted to paddle from his house all the way down the Wabash to the mouth of Ohio. So last year, I didn't get in on the trip because I was gone somewhere else, of course. But they made it halfway. Yeah. They made it about 200 miles, and he knew I had a wooden, what the French called a bateau back in the day, which is basically a wooden John boat. And I built it a few years ago and had taken it here and there, but he asked me to join up with them and finish the trip out. So it was about 90 miles. We started last Saturday in Mount Carmel, Illinois, and we hit the Ohio Tuesday afternoon about 3 o'clock. And the river had changed a little bit. It had cut off the last 10 miles and made a new channel. So we got in about 80 miles. I think Tuesday we broke camp early, and we paddled 27 miles Tuesday to make it to the mouth by Tuesday afternoon.
Well, and I'm going to tell you what, when, a lot of guys will say, well, put your money where your mouth is. You literally did. I mean, you guys did this with 18th century technology. This is back in the old days. You dressed to the part, you lived the part. I mean, it was the full on experience.
Yeah, we even went as far as not to take sunscreen.
Oh.
So we're all pretty sunburned, but we did stop. And as far as anything modern, we had, of course we had to carry water because nobody's going in the right mind, even with a water filter, is going to drink out of the Wabash River. And we did make a stop in New Harmony and pick up some sunscreen because we all looked like lobsters by about day 2.
I'll tell you really respect those guys back in the day when you start thinking about that, because you said I noticed on here that you said Class 3 rapids in a dugout canoe.
Yes. I wasn't even aware that the Wabash had any, rapids at all.
I wasn't either.
News to me, and one was pretty intense. We scouted the evening before and decided the next day we portaged everything across the stones and just went for it. And we really, his dugout canoe is made out of poplar. I think it's 12 or 14 foot long and weighs about 500 pounds.
Wow.
So it's not exactly nimble.
No, this isn't the one you're throwing on your shoulder and just carrying to the car, right?
Oh no, absolutely not. It takes 4 men to load it on the trailer. But we kind of looked it over, and he knew I'd done quite a bit of whitewater paddling. We talked about it, and I was like, man, I really have no idea how this thing's going to react. I said, but, I'll go for it if you want to go for it. So we strapped on the GoPros, and really it was pretty uneventful. We shot right on through, picked our lane, and other than it's a little hard to maneuver once you get in the fast water, we came through with literally without a scratch.
Just a sunburn, right?
Yeah, just a sunburn.
I'm going to tell you what, you guys have got guts. I mean, the stuff that you guys are coming up with doing, even making that boat. How long did it take you to make that boat?
Oh, I think he's got 100 hours in that boat. Yep, he started out with a 6,000-pound poplar log that was 42 inches across.
Wow. This thing is,
Yeah,
well,
I'm
you even
currently
had the
sitting
tar on it, right? The tar on the seams?
No. Now, my back toe did have tar on the seam. But, if you were following along, we sunk it about 2 miles into it off the first rock ledge.
Well, now what caused that one?
Yeah. I knew I needed to refloor it, but I didn't have time for this trip, so I just retarred it real good. And I had a little spot that had dry rot, and we had to go over a rock ledge, like right out of the gate. We hadn't even been gone an hour. And I heard it pop a little bit, didn't think that much of it, kind of shifted my weight. And when I did, it busted the floor open. I was in mid-channel. They had to paddle back. We were throwing stuff in the other two canoes. And luckily, one fella had brought a canoe, and he was by himself. So I just hopped in with him. Of course, didn't lose any gear, knock on wood, thank goodness, and just continued the trip, much like they would have, because it's not like you can quit.
No, you're there. You're pretty much in it. You're going to do what you're going to do. But I'll tell you, I am amazed at all of the things that you do. And God bless your wife. I do feel bad for her every once in a while going, really? Does she ever just look at you and go,
supports
really?
Me in about whatever craziness I get into. She's right there behind me. A lot of times right beside me.
I want to kind of give props, too, to these quivers that you have on here. Now, the one thing I love about, like, homesteading and survivalist, it looks like, it's kind of a big community. And you guys, end up trading with each other and help trying to promote each other. And it's really like a big family almost. And
oh, absolutely.
These quivers they're gorgeous.
Yeah, he just hit me up out of the blue about a week ago. It was like, hey, man, you want one of these quivers? And I was like, well, of course I do. So, yeah, that's Donnie Wilkerson down in Florida at Creek Walker Trading. And if you're into trad bows or stick bows at all, it's probably the best quiver as far as a bow-mounted quiver for that kind of thing that I've ever seen.
Well, they are absolutely gorgeous. I got to admit, this bow, though, with the snakeskin backing.
Yes, that is my friend Ryan Gill, also out of Florida with Hunt Primitive. And I think Ryan is up to like 37 big game animals with stone points now. I mean, he is the real deal. He's no joke. And some of those have been with stone spears.
Isn't that something, man? I'll tell you.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Some of the things that these guys do. And, well, when you think about the 18th century, that sort of thing, that's what they were doing or they wouldn't have eaten.
Right. I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation if that technology hadn't led to this technology, I guess, so to speak. That's what I tell kids when I'm doing classes or, some kid's super curious or even one that's not paying attention, he's on his iPhone or whatever. That's what I always tell them, without this, you wouldn't have that.
Well, I'll tell you, we are super duper proud of you as always. I love that trip that you just got through making. And you got any of those coming up anytime soon?
Pretty busy month this month. I think Sean from Malone, he and I are headed to Wisconsin next week to do some teaching up there with Amy Schmidt, who is on Alone the Beast, which airs finally on History Channel this Saturday. So you guys might want to check that out.
I'm very excited. I'm completely excited for that.
We're going to go up there and do some teaching with her, and then I think I'm home for a week, and then I'm headed to Tennessee to White House Academy to do a bow class down there, and then I will probably leave from there and head to the Carolinas and bear hunt for about a week with flintlock. So we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, next few weeks are going to be pretty busy, and we videoed the whole canoe trip. So at some point today, I will probably drop the first section or the first part of a 2-part series on that canoe trip on our YouTube channel. So be sure and check that out.
And then how do we get there to the YouTube?
It's Ramshackle Homestead Survive, just on YouTube. Pull it up, check it out. Pretty much anything we have is just the Ramshackle Homestead Survive, the Instagram, Facebook, website, YouTube. That'll get you there from about any platform.
Man, I love it. And I'll tell you, as far as the gear goes, I promised them that I would ask, how do we get a hold of this unique, one-of-a-kind Keith Seyers bow and all of these goodies that you're making? How do we get a hold of that?
I make the bow by order because I need measurements from the individual. So the best way to do that, I don't even sell the bows on the website, but you can shoot me a message on any of the social media platforms, or just put a message in our inbox there on the website, and I'll get back to you. Usually I do that as a bow building class, but I've also been offering some of the flat bows just, on a, I guess, interest basis. I've got 2 I'm building right now, and then 1 a fella is supposed to pick up today. But definitely, if you're interested in something like that, I can fix you up. I just need to know a little bit about the person as far as draw length and all the normal stuff when you go to buy a bow.
Have you guys still got the course there?
Oh, yeah. Yep. I'm actually standing on it right now.
Well, explain to everybody what you do there, because I think that's pretty unique too.
Yeah, we've got just a pretty traditional 3D archery course here on the farm, and we do a few different shoots. Of course, it's open to membership or open to day shoots, just however you want to do it. But a couple weeks ago, we had the Iron Arrow Challenge, where you had 1 arrow, 10 targets, and trust me, they were designed to break your arrow. I think Mike Shepard won the trad, and he didn't even have an arrow for the last 3 targets. So he was obviously shooting pretty well up to that point. And then Billy Brummett here from Union County, he won the compound, and I think his arrow actually survived all the way through. But I think we lost about 10 arrows total that day on that shoot. And we will probably do 1 more shoot this year. I'm thinking maybe the weekend before Halloween here. And we'll come up with something crazy, make it fun, make it interesting. But usually on those shoots, we do a 50-50 payout. You stand a chance of winning a pretty good chunk of money if you can hold it together to the end.
Well, I'll tell you what, good luck, man, with all your new ventures, and keep us in mind, keep us updated on what's going on. And I'll tell you, if somebody wants to learn, they can learn from the master at Ramshackle, Homestead, and Survival, because I can't imagine that there's anybody any better to teach them than you.
There's definitely better people out there, for sure. But, hey, we all can learn something from each other every day.
Well, from creation to recreation, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Be safe out there, or as safe as you're going to be.
Yeah, valid statement.
Thanks so much, Keith. We appreciate you.
Yep. All right. Thanks for having me again.
Of course, Keith Seyers from the History Channels alone. I will tell you, that is one series that I'd never miss. And I tell you, he's... man, what a hero for a lot of us around here. I love the fact that he's local, and we can say we had somebody up in Alaska, because this was during the big 100-day challenge. So he's doing a lot and still very active. So make sure that you check him out. Of course, Keith Seyers, you can find him on Facebook or any of the other social medias. Of course, if you're looking for the homepage, it's Ramshackle, Homestead, and Survival. And it's anything, again, from the quivers and the different things from some of the other alone contestants that he still hangs out with and still does a lot of projects with, to his own. And he does a lot of knife smithing. He does, makes the bows and that sort of thing. So you talk about unique gifts. And then, of course, if you want to go down there, he'll actually teach you how to shoot, and you can go through the whole course, too. So there you go. Keith Seyers, we appreciate it. Hope that gives you kind of an insight to deer season. I know everybody's really kind of getting ready for that. If you're not into the bow season, gun season is right around the corner. But if you are, let us know what you're seeing, and we'd like to update everybody on that every once in a while. It's Coffee Talk on 1580, 103.3 WPKY. WPKY. Don't forget tonight. Of course, Caldwell County is going up against a Ballard. It's our homecoming, but it's also our senior night tonight. So make sure that you come early tonight so that we can celebrate homecoming festivities and senior festivities before and during the halftime as well. Want to make sure that we give all of these kids a round of applause and a standing ovation and tell them how beautiful and wonderful they are and support them for how many hours and my goodness, how many years that they've been preparing and working so hard and perfecting what they do. We're proud of them. If you can't come to Tiger Stadium tonight, you can always listen. Of course, we're going to have our pregame show starting at about 6. And then, of course, all of the festivities are going to be on the air tonight, 103.3 and 1580 AM. Of course, you can get us on our WPKY app. That's absolutely free. You can download that. And the cool thing, I think, is don't look at all the other things. If you get some of these other live video streams that they're wanting you to pay money for, that is not us. Don't pay a cent for it. Come to our website, WPKYonline.com, and just before the game, you'll see it down there where you can click on it live. You will not pay a penny. You don't have to give us a bunch of information. There's no signing up and registering and giving me your mother's maiden name and all of that stuff. No. All you have to do is click on it, and it'll take you directly there. So lots of watch parties in the area, too. So kind of join in on that. It's homecoming day and homecoming weekend. 1580, 103.3, WPKY.
Serving Caldwell County since 1950. We're 1580, 103.3 WPKY Princeton.
Been in the hospital but aren't quite ready to go home? Caldwell Medical Center's Swing Bed program is the perfect step for patients in a transitional stage of care. Their extended care solution allows you to continue receiving skilled nursing care, meals, and medication management with the added convenience of being close to home and the peace of mind that comes from a full-service hospital. To learn more about their Swing Bed program, visit caldwellmedical.com.
At Black Pat's Grill, the kitchen is serving your favourite Irish fare and southern comforts. The dining room is now open again, so come in,